everybody. We're here today working with James. He is in need of some fender flares on his car. We opted to go with the hard Motorsport fender flares. It's about a 30 mil over on a stock non-M car. So essentially M3 fitment. Really cool product. This is the fender flare. They do come black. We're kind of lucky. James's car is black. We're not going to paint them. You'll want to paint this to match your car probably before you install them on the car. So just make sure that you get that done. What we're going to be doing is we're going to cut, essentially we'll mark this off. I'm going to cut this stock arch out of the way, and then this will go into place of it. This will get riveted on in multiple spots. So there are a few different tools that you're gonna need, like a drill bit, grinder, cutoff wheel. A welder is probably a good idea. We're going to cut this out, and then we're going to section the inner skin and fold it up and weld it to the outer skin so that we can make sure no tire smoke is going inside the car. Also, so that there's no weather like rain or snow or anything like that getting inside there. So if you do weld it, just make sure you spray it with like a primer so it doesn't rust on you. And then another good thing to put on there is some seam sealer. We don't have any seam sealer this time around, but we can always take these off or just reach in there and put some seam sealer on it and make sure it's good to go. That's really about it. So we're gonna go ahead and get into this. So first step is we're just gonna kind of rough outline a line here. I'm going to use some masking tape. You can use like a paint marker or something like that. We just want to make sure that we follow some sort of line. We just don't go all crazy with the grinder. And then we'll take our grinder with a cutoff wheel on it and we'll cut it out. After you've cut this out, you'll want to obviously cut along the top here, and then you'll want to cut along the inside underneath. And then we're going to cut little lacerations here into this inner skin. What that's going to do is allow us to hammer this up to this edge here, and then that way we can weld this metal to this metal, and then the fender flare will go over the top of all of this and cover it all up. All right, so as you can tell, it takes a little bit of hammering, but what you need to do is get this inner skin to the outer skin, and then we're gonna clean this up a little bit. And we're gonna weld this all shut so that no tire smoke or water or rain or anything like that gets inside there. Alright, so we went ahead and we welded this all shut. So the next step is going to be to cut this excess metal off. And then we'll go ahead and kind of grind down what we can't cut with the cutoff wheel and just kind of clean that stuff up. After that, what we're going to do is we're going to take our fender flare and we'll tape it into position. And then we'll go ahead and we'll mark where we want to drill our holes so that we can rivet it on. So now what we're going to do is just take the grinder, kind of clean up this edge just a little bit up to the weld. Then we'll tape this guy on. Okay, so now we've got this kind of mocked on here with some tape. Now we need to get it riveted on. So the next step is going to be is to mark your holes here. I like to use as few rivets as possible. Just makes for a much cleaner look. So you're gonna want to get one right in this corner, definitely one down here, one at the back, maybe one or two in the middle here. And then you want to make sure before you rivet this on that you get this trim piece in and everything looks where it needs to be. Good thing to do also is just make sure the door opens and shuts as it should before you install all of this permanently. All right, so the next step, we want to make sure we get our drill bit, make sure it's sized up to the rivets that come with the kit, and then we're just going to make sure we get off the edge enough, not too far in here, so that we make sure it gets into the sheet metal. Once we have that, we're going to need our rivet gun. We'll put that in there and start working that rivet. That's the first one down. Now you're just going to repeat that same process and kind of work your way back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with one probably right in the middle here, and then end with one more back here to get this all secure. I think that it's going to have a really good line here. You just want to make sure you don't have any gaps. So you just, as you're working it, just make sure as you're like putting pressure in one spot that it looks good across, and then you can get away with as little rivets as possible. So just pay attention to that as you're doing it. You may need more than this, you may need less than that, but I'm going to guess at least bare minimum 3, sometimes 4. So we got away with very few rivets on this one. So we only have 4 in the bigger section here, which is great. 1 down here, 3 up top, and then got away with just 2 on this door extension piece. And there you go. That's installing the Hard Motorsport fender flares. So Hard Motorsports does send this bracket here. What this bracket is for is to move the bumper over. It really just depends on the car. In this case, it really lines up pretty darn well. We don't really need to put this on. So if your bumper is not lining up very well and needs to be pulled out, you will